Welcome, students of South Harmon. Please take a seat for today's lesson in seasonal draft dominance. But before I dive in, make sure that you are subscribed to the South Harmon Fantasy Football YouTube channel. If you're not, please take a second and make sure you smash that subscribe button. Also, hit that like button and get ready to leave a couple comments after today's video. We got a few promotions happening here at South Harmon. The first is Manscaped. If you're trying to keep it tight, keep it nice and neat, you got to head over to Manscaped, get some of the new products, the Weed Whacker, the Lawnmower, get it today. And if you use the promo code SHFF20, you will get 20% off your order and free shipping. Now, let's get back into today's lesson. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we are striving for perfection. We've gone over some targets, we've gone over some potential busts, and of course, we've talked about sleepers here on the channel. But today, we're putting it all together, and Professor Kiwoom is walking you through the perfect start to your seasonal fantasy football drafts. We're going to go through rounds 1 through 10, and it's going to be the perfect start to your seasonal fantasy football drafts. And if you have any questions or thoughts or comments, please leave them in the comments section, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Students of South Harmon, class has begun. Get that intro. Yeah.
Final round. Fight. Finish him.
Let's start in round number 1. So these first 3 rounds, I call them the foundational picks. We're not looking upside. We're not looking safety. We're looking both. You need these guys to hit if you're going to win your seasonal draft. Sure, you can strike out, you can have an injury or a bust, a couple picks of the first 3, but it's going to take you a lot of digging out. It's a big hole to dig out of if you strike out here with these first 3 picks. But if you tune into the game plan each and every Sunday at 9 a.m., maybe you can scratch and claw your way to a championship. But let's not worry about that. Let's not worry about the grind. Let's build the perfect team so you don't have to worry, but still, tune into the game plan either way. We're going to start with these round 1 picks, these foundational picks. You could go with CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, A.J. Brown, Garrett Wilson. I like to get wide receivers here in the first round. Of course, Bijan, Brees, CMC, they are very enticing, but it's better grabbing the foundational wide receiver in round number 1. And even if it's Garrett Wilson, who now has the best quarterback he's had in his career, or CeeDee Lamb, hopefully he signs Jamar Chase. We hope that they sign, get on the field, because these are the foundational wide receivers. Let's head over to round number 2. This is the place where I love to get my running back here. My anchor RB, hero RB, however you call it, it doesn't matter. These are the running backs. These are the players that you can get in round number 2 that can give you that 1.5 wins over replacement and helps you pick that foundational running back in which the rest of this roster will develop around. Some of these targets: Travis Etienne, Saquon Barkley, if you are later in the second round. Some pivots that I like in round number 2, Isaiah Pacheco, who has that top 8 upside, has top 5 super upside now without Jerick McKinnon, projects to be a 3-down back on one of the best offenses in football for the Kansas City Chiefs. You can pivot to Rachaad White, who has continuously gotten more and more involved in the passing game, and we hope this year with the improved offensive line and a new offensive coordinator, potentially Rachaad White can have better efficiency numbers, which could again keep him in the top 10, top 8 like last year. And then of course the pivot, Josh Jacobs, he seemingly slides past the second round, so he's kind of your last ditch effort of getting a running back here. But Josh Jacobs looks to have all 3 downs to himself, while Marshawn Lloyd comes back from injury. A.J. Dillon is dealing with an injury. So it seems like it will be the Josh Jacobs show in Green Bay for an offense that we love for fantasy football purposes. Round number 3, or the final foundational player, I like to go right back to the wide receiver well. mainly because you could kind of clean up and get another player in the top 25 of my shit sheet. Head over to southharmonff.com and get the 1QB or Superflex shit sheets. This here is a build for the 1 quarterback leagues, the home leagues, my people. This is the perfect draft for you. So we went receiver, we went running back, we're going to go back to receiver. These are going to be our 3 foundational players and some of the players I have been targeting. And again, this is not a conversation of drafting from the beginning, the middle, or the end. This is kind of the all-encompassing 3rd round. Michael Pittman Jr., DJ Moore, Drake London, Deebo Samuel, Jalen Waddle, Nico Collins, Mike Evans. These guys sprinkled either just inside or right outside of my top 25. It's great value. These are receivers that have accumulated over 1,000-yard seasons. If you're Mike Evans, you've been doing it for damn near 2 decades, racking up these 1,000-yard seasons. Nico Collins, DJ Moore, of course, they're in offenses that project to have a number of pass catchers involved, but they are the alphas. They are projected to be the wide receiver ones in these strong offenses. Of course, Drake London's your bit of leap of faith. We're hoping he excels in that year 3 breakout role. But if you can get one of these receivers, you've started off strong. You have 2 wide receivers and a running back as your foundational pieces. Let's move on to round number 4. I like to go right back to receiver. And whether it be 1 flex or 2 flex, I still like to go back to receiver, get my 3rd dragon, if you will, and really start to put together a team that can put together a shitload of points on a week in and week out basis. I've categorized this round into 2 different spots. Half of the guys I'm going to talk about are what I would call safer. They have a higher floor. The other guys, we're betting on ceiling. We're hoping that they can take a jump in either year 2 or year 3. So some of the safer picks in round 4 that I like as my number 1 flex spot in 1QB seasonal drafts: Devontae Smith, Cooper Kupp, DK Metcalf. These are players who have done it, players that are projected to do it again in 2024. And coming in at round number 4, you're getting a nice value on these players because, again, they've produced at the NFL and they project to do it again this year. Some of the upside plays, the riskier but high ceiling type plays: Zay Flowers, Malik Neighbors, George Pickens. Pickens is going into his first year as the number 1 receiver. Deontay Johnson is not in town. Roman Wilson is hurt. Brandon Ayuk is still not on the Steelers. He's still out west. We all are projecting that George Pickens takes that big step and go over 1,000 yards, be that A.J. Brown in the Arthur Smith offense that will now be for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then, of course, Malik Neighbors. I've been on Malik Neighbors all offseason. He is a stud wide receiver. He will be hindered by Daniel Jones, but if he didn't have Daniel Jones as his quarterback, this guy would be a 1-2 turn pick. He would be going where Marvin Harrison is going. You're getting him now at 2 rounds discounted because of Daniel Jones. We've seen good receivers return value with bad quarterbacks. Malik is special. He can produce. Is he a guy that is going to eclipse the 1,400 like Puka last year, or go over 12 or 12 touchdowns and 1,200 receiving yards? Probably not. The limits are there with Daniel Jones, but returning value in the 4th round is still on the table, even with a quarterback like Daniel Jones. Let's move on to round number 5. This is where you're getting your tight end in the perfect build. If you can get Trey McBride, you're, of course, super lucky. He is going typically in rounds 3 or 4, but I have been in some drafts in which he's fallen to round 5, so it's possible he's there. And then again, I've separated these tight ends by what they can provide your team. If you've gone with the ceiling pick in round 4 at receiver and you want to go with the safer floor at tight end, this is how you can make that distinction. So some of the floor plays that are readily available in round 5, your Evan Ingrams, George Kittles. The ceiling tight ends that are always available in round 5 are Dalton Kincaid, Kyle Pitts. We're expecting a jump, a breakout season from these guys. And then the player that gives you a floor and a ceiling, you know, he's been good for years. He's always a perennial top producer in fantasy, as long as he stays healthy, Mark Andrews. So if you can get one of these tight ends in round number 5, you're halfway there to your perfect 10-round start, and I'm here to walk you through all 10 rounds. So let's keep it moving to round number 6. This is where I like to get my running back to. Sometimes it's going to feel like a reach here in this round, but that's okay. ADP is determined by the platform, and sometimes they may not agree with our projections, our rankings, my stuff. This is the round in which you might have to reach, quote unquote, reach. If you're putting together the perfect team, really reaching at any point, when you're putting together the perfect roster, are you really reaching? I guess by the standards of the platform, you might be, but this is where you're getting your running back 2 and continuing down the path of a perfect draft. Some of the guys that I like in this section, Najee Harris, who with Jaylen Warren getting hurt, it's just even more Najee Harris, SZ. And I've liked Najee Harris throughout the offseason. I believe that Arthur Smith likes to use a workhorse, bell cow-esque back. Najee can provide that. He's been healthy his 3 years in the NFL. He's ran over 1,000 yards each of his years in the NFL, and this year projects to be the same. The next guy I like in this range, Kenneth Walker. New regime in town. The guys that drafted Zach Charbonnet is no longer running the show in Seattle, and Kenneth Walker, quite frankly, is just a better running back. One of the best runners of the football in the NFL. So getting him as my running back 2, I believe, gives a nice little floor and a perfect build. Ramondre Stevenson, he is a fade for some, but with that ADP tipping down, he's becoming a bit of a value. The Patriots are going to use their running backs like crazy. We've seen Ramondre have a season which he's had over 60 receptions. Is that on the table? Probably not, as long as Antonio Gibson is healthy, but we could absolutely see him eclipse 45, maybe get over 50 receptions, be the goal line back. He's going to have a lot of high-value touches for the New England Patriots, a team that is going to run the living shit out of the football. And then, of course, DeAndre Swift. As a running back, too, you can take on a little bit of risk. He has had injury issues throughout his career, but in this offense that expects to score a lot of fantasy points, he seems to be the RB1 in town. I mean, quite frankly, they paid him to be. He will be. So there's a lot of high-value touches that will be going Swift's way. And as we saw in week 1 of the preseason, he could take a dump-off pass 40 yards up the house and score a touchdown. The guy is talented, so I want to get my running back 2 be a part of a good offense like the Bears. And then Brian Robinson. Now, Brian Robinson is apparently a bit of an enigma this year in our seasonal drafts because it depends on what platform you use. He can go anywhere from round 6 or round 9. So depending on the platform, I will make the pick regardless of what round he's projected to go on those platforms. So on Sleeper, he can go in round 9. ESPN, he's going in the 6th. I'm okay taking him. Brian Robinson has the floor of a high volume versus second down rusher, but has a ceiling of a 3-down back if something were to happen to Austin Eckler, or if he is just ineffective. He's going to have to be the goal line guy. He's going to get the early down carries. So I love Brian Robinson. I will take him as early as the 6th. Let's move on to the 7th round. I am going back to the wide receiver well. In this round, we're looking at ceiling plays, floor plays, a couple of both. So my top priorities in this range, Terry McLaurin, Amari Cooper, I believe they will bring a floor, but also provide a potential top 15, top 12 season ceiling. So those are my primary targets. If you're looking for floor here in round 7, Deontay Johnson, Chris Godwin, or Jaden Reed. And then if you're looking for that ceiling, you're looking for that big boom appeal at the wide receiver position in the 7th round. Rome Odunze, Xavier Worthy, Jordan Addison, and Jackson Smith-Njigba. These 4 guys have the talent. They're in the situation that if things go the right way, they could explode into the fantasy football scene this year and become absolute destroyers on a points per game basis. So however you're planning your team, you got to give some wiggle room. So if you're looking for ceiling, you're looking for floor, looking for a little bit of both, you can find something here in round 7 at the wide receiver position. Let's move on to round number 8. This is where you're getting your QB. This is where you're getting your signal caller. The guys that are readily available in round 8, Kyler Murray, Dak Prescott, sometimes Joe Burrow. I haven't been really aggressive drafting Burrow because of the Konami code quarterbacks that are available in this range. But if you went Chase early and you want to get that stack, sometimes Burrow does fall to round 8. You can go ahead and pull the trigger, Jordan Love and Jaden Daniels. Now, Jaden Daniels would be considered a reach on most platforms, but Jaden Daniels has such a high ceiling, and I do believe he has a safe floor given that rushing ability. He's kind of my last resort here in round 8, and it's a great last resort because he is the quintessential late round QB this year. We talked about it on the hurdle. Kyler Murray, Dak Prescott, Jordan Love, Jaden Daniels, and Joe Burrow. If he falls here in round number 8, that's where I'm getting my quarterback. Let's move on to round number 9. Going back to the running back, well, there's a lot of good running backs in this range as my running back 3 that I really have been aggressive drafting. Jerome Ford, who is going to be the lead back in Cleveland to start the year. Nick Chubb does not look to be healthy. That knee injury was gruesome. It was his second devastating knee injury. He's now had a devastating injury to both knees. He's over 27 years old. This could be the Jerome Ford show all year. It will definitely be that early on, so I want Jerome Ford here in round 9. Chase Brown, he's readily available in 9, and he projects to have a nice role in that Cincinnati Bengals offense. Great pass catcher, fast athlete, and he has similar size to Zach Moss, so he has that pathway to just being a destroyer. And getting him in round 9, I like the build here. Getting my running back 3 in round 9. Gus Edwards, he ain't the sexy pick, but he had a ton of touchdowns last year, and the Los Angeles Chargers are going to hashtag establish it. They are going to run the football, and if Gus Edwards does get the lion's share, he gets the strong side of the running back platoon, he's going to return value in round 9. So he's a target of mine here as my running back 3 for this perfect build. Tajay Spears, Trey Benson. Of course, they have other running backs in their backfield that will cause issues, but the talent is there, and we know how injuries can just creep out of nowhere. And if Trey Benson or Tajay Spears is given the strong side of the split, they are going to absolutely crush in fantasy. And again, this is our running back 3, so we don't need their production to be early. We can expect it to be mid or late as we're building these teams. Let's move on to the 10th and final round that we're going to talk about in today's lesson, students of South Harmon, of the perfect seasonal draft start, rounds 1 through 10. Here comes number 10. I'm going back to the wide receiver. Well, psych, I'm not. This is an open round. This is a round that you can interpret it the right way. You look at your roster, you can say, I got this, I got that. And you can go in multiple directions. You can get Romeo Dubes. You can also wait on Romeo Dubes on ESPN, but I'm okay taking him in round 10 because we've seen him push double-digit touchdowns before, and as he continues to develop that rapport, that connection with Jordan Love, as Jordan Love continues to get better, we can expect Romeo Dubes to have his best season yet as a pro. Brian Thomas obviously is that ceiling play. Trevor Lawrence, for better or worse, love him or hate him, the guy can chuck it deep, and Brian Robinson proved last year that he can be a downfield weapon. And getting him here in round 10 mitigates a little of the risk, but you can get all that reward if he pops in a big way anywhere throughout the 2024 season. Jacoby Myers is the warp low-key guy. Last year, top 30 receiver last year in wins over replacement. Getting him here now with Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew proved that he can make pass catchers relevant. We're expecting Devontae Adams to be wide receiver 1. Let's say he gets traded. Doesn't even matter if he doesn't. Jacoby Myers is good at football. Jacoby Myers has scored a ton of touchdowns over the last 2 seasons after not scoring any touchdowns in the early portion of his career. I like getting him here in round 10. He is that perfect sub-in at flex or injury replacement if you need to move up to wide receiver. He isn't the sexy pick, but he provides a lot of value for our seasonal drafts. Josh Palmer, another non-sexy pick, but looks like he could be the wide receiver 1 out of the gate for the Chargers. So I'm going to go with Josh Palmer here in round 10 as a nice depth piece. And then any of the running backs that fall from round 9. Benson, Spears, Edwards, Brown, Ford, any of those guys, Brian Robinson on some platforms. If any of those guys fall to round 10, I'm going to grab my running back 4 because between round 9 and round 15, you want to absolutely pound the running back button. Just keep pressing. Just like you're smashing the like right now. Hit that like. You're hitting running back over and over and over again. Speaking of peppering the running back draft button, the bonus rounds, Professor Kiwoom has got you beyond round 10. Bonus picks, pepper that running backs. Rico Dowdle, Ty Chandler, Jaleel McLaughlin, Sarah McLaughlin, Kissed by an Angel, the dog song that makes you sad. Either way, Jalen Wright, you're targeting him. Ray Davis, you're targeting him. Khalil Herbert, you're targeting him. Antonio Gibson, you must be new here. If you didn't know, I was going to bring up Tony G. You're targeting him. And Kimani Vidal. So we notice here that there are just a number of running backs that are good depth to have in our seasonal formats. That's it. Rounds 1 through 10. The perfect drafts, my friend. Rounds 1 through 10. Professor Kiwoom sat down. Today's lesson was helping you draft the perfect start to your seasonal drafts. Make sure you get those shit sheets over at southharmonff.com. We got them for 1QB. We got them for Superflex. And make sure if you go into Manscaped, use the promo code SHFF20. Get 20% off your Manscaped order. Wait! Folks, the bell doesn't dismiss you. We've been over this before. I dismiss you. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe to the South Harmon FF YouTube channel. And make sure you go ahead and leave a comment. Let's get that algorithm to take this video to the moon, folks. And make sure you go over to southharmonff.com. Get that warp tool. Get those shit sheets. Get it there. Go over there. Check it out. Okay, folks, you're dismissed.